Nagkapirmahan na ng kontrata sina Dwayne Wade at ang Cleveland Cavaliers. Gaya ng una na balita, $2 ang halaga ng one-year contract ng 12-time All-Star. Excited daw si Wade na muling makalaro ang kanyang kaibigan na si LeBron James. Nakasama niyang nanalo ng 2 NBA titles sa Miami. Agad namang nag-celebrate sina The King at The Flash matapos maging opisyal ang kanilang reunion.
Get some wine.
Stay on that vino. Gotta stay on that vino.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, bro.
Ayan na. Now, will the LBJ and D-Wade reunion in Cleveland lead to another title? Or will they team up to form another super team elsewhere if it doesn't pan out in Cleveland? Well, joining us for discussion on this is NBA writer for the Associated Press, Tim Reynolds, joining us from Miami, Florida. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. Good evening, Steve.
Yes, thank you for joining us. All right, Tim, big news about Dwayne Wade. Of course, the other day it was all about Carmelo Anthony. Today it's all about D-Wade. Tell us first how, I know Miami was in play. They had a chance to try to snatch Dwayne after he was released by the Bulls. Tell us what the buzz was down there with Pat Riley and Spo trying to get him back.
I think there was super hope. I think there was obviously great excitement that they could try to get him. But I think most people really felt that given the state of the Heat roster right now and Dwayne's affinity, for LeBron, that Cleveland might have been the more probable landing point, and obviously it worked out that way. But the Heat did reach out. A lot of teams reached out. Golden State even reached out. That just goes to show, I think, the affinity that teams around the league have for Dwayne Wade. And Miami, they were not necessarily disappointed. Udonis Haslem was, Goran Dragic was, but I think organizationally the Heat like where they are right now.
All right, we'll talk about the Heat in a bit. I want to get your perspective on what you've seen so far in training camp. But give us your perspective on what you've witnessed. You've seen Dwayne throughout his whole NBA career. You were there already, working around the Miami Heat. When he came in the league, he won his first title with Shaq and Riley then. How has he matured into the player he is today? What have you seen? I mean, what kind of a piece is Dwayne Wade now that all these teams were really trying to go after him?
Well, I mean, one, he can still play. I mean, you look at the numbers last year, particularly before the elbow injury, I thought he should have been an all-star last year, and the fans agreed with me, given by the vote totals. They have this new system now in the NBA where a lot of different factors get taken into account, but the fans wanted him in the all-star game. He's still immensely popular with fans, but more importantly, TJ, to your point, he's incredibly popular in the locker room. And just knows how to win games. He's still a great passer of the basketball. He's still a very good cutter of the basketball. And just when you've been around as long as he has and won as many championships as he has, you pick up certain things that just aren't there in a lot of locker rooms. He brings a lot of strength and a lot of knowledge that LeBron James already had, but it'll just help affirm the points that LeBron's making to his guys in the Cleveland locker room this year.
Well, Tim, you've witnessed a lot of players throughout your career as well covering the NBA. You've seen a lot of players become friends. But tell us what this unique friendship is like between Dwayne and LeBron James. And, of course, I know Chris was a big part of it as well when the Big Three were formed in Miami. But these two guys, they just seem something different in terms of their friendship and their bond off and eventually on the court. What is it like, and how huge is that now as they try to have version 2.0 of the LeBron and Dwayne Wade tandem in Cleveland?
Well, it's everything, because they trust each other completely. I mean, to the point where when they go out to dinner, it's not uncommon for LeBron to order for Dwayne. I'm not kidding. That's the trust they have in each other. It goes back, TJ, to their first night in the league. They hit it off on draft night in 2003, and they stayed close ever since. There was a great respect those first 7 seasons when LeBron was in Cleveland and Dwayne was winning that first championship in Miami, had more postseason success than LeBron. I think that motivated LeBron. I think the individual success that he was having motivated Dwayne. There was never animus between them, between Chris, between Carmelo Anthony, 4 of the top 5 guys in that draft class. And then when Dwayne had that opportunity in 2010 to pull it all together, that's when they got to see what each other does really on a daily basis. Right. And the friendship grew from there to the point now where Dwayne knows this will not be a very popular move in some cities, Chicago included. but that's what LeBron James mean to him. This wasn't the most lucrative opportunity for Dwayne,
right,
but it's the best one largely because of the trust and friendship that they have.
It's interesting to backtrack on that, Tim. From that 2010-2011 season, the first season, the friendship definitely they enjoyed, but the actual playing on the court, there were struggles. There were growing pains trying to figure things out, how this, what some people called Batman and Robin, and they didn't even know who Batman and Robin was sometimes, right? And I remember after they won the first title, Spo was telling everybody how it was a big deal that Dwayne matured enough to say, okay, I take a step back and give LeBron the lead, even though this was his team, you know, years coming in before Chris and LeBron joined in. How was that shift in their friendship, you know, jumped up a couple notches in terms of how it affected their play and how they were able to understand each other more on the court?
Well, you said it perfectly. It's Batman and Robin. It's not Batman and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, you know, there was a maturity there. And when, you know, LeBron was so criticized in those 2011 finals for deferring to Dwayne Wade,
mm-hmm,
probably more than he should have in that series. I think that Dwayne recognized that and basically told LeBron, this can't happen again.
mm-hmm.
And so, you know, in the fourth quarters of games, in winning time, as they call it, you know, Dwayne didn't defer. Dwayne wanted LeBron to step up because he believed that LeBron was the best player alive. He told me the same thing yesterday. He still thinks LeBron is the best player in the NBA, and I agree with him. So it's from they have challenged each other in so many ways, and this wasn't always positive conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they fight like brothers at times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they get in each other's face. They argue about role. They argue about what the right thing to do was, particularly not just after losses, but after wins.
Wow.
You know, winning was for these guys. They wanted to win the right way.
Mm-hmm.
They have really found ways to pull something out of each other that I don't think, for as great and Dwayne and LeBron were and still are, that they've never known they had. And that pattern has continued even now, and I'm sure it's going to continue this season.
All right, now that they're going to be joining forces in Cleveland, what do you think this partnership, this unique friendship on court, off the court, will have an effect on everybody around them? We've seen it unfold eventually in Miami in the 4 years they made the finals, the 2 titles. But with the pieces they have now, they've got some veteran guys, D. Rose, and you know some other guys who've been around, Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye. They've also all been good locker room guys. But there's a good mix of young and old. How do you see this as the centerpiece of where LeBron and D. Wade want to bring them all the way to the title?
Well, it'll be, you know, 2 voices. I mean, it'll still be LeBron as the primary voice. It's still his team, it's his city, it's his franchise. That will never be questioned. But I think even the guys like Richard Jefferson, guys who have won championships, guys who have been in the league a long time, a former MVP in Derrick Rose, who is still only 28, by the way, and I think that surprises a lot of people that he's still a young guy.
Yep.
They're going to see how these guys study the game, how these guys interact on game day, how these guys study the game not just in film, but how they study the game during the game, how they adjust their teams at halftime. Both are excellent at that. I don't think the Cavs players will have a true appreciation for this relationship until the Cavs go through a struggle, until they lose 4 out of 6 games or 2 in a row or have a bad road trip or something like that. That's when they'll see the magic that these two have together. Winning is easy when you have a lot of talent, and the Cavs are going to win a lot of games. Winning when things aren't going right, like every team goes through at some point in the season, that's why these 2 guys are together, because they will find ways to keep little problems from becoming big problems, and every locker room needs that.
Well, the big question now in everybody's minds, with this addition of Wade, and of course with swapping Kyrie with Thomas and Crowder as well, and adding some other pieces, are they good enough now? Are they better enough to finally give the Warriors a real run for their money if they both meet again in the finals?
Well, I still think Golden State is better. I mean, I don't think there's anyone out there outside of people in Cleveland that would disagree with that. But it kind of goes back to something we said at the start here, TJ. It's you know, Golden State wanted Dwayne Wade too. I mean, they recognize the value of Dwayne Wade. Right. So I don't think the Warriors are going to be thrilled that another proven champion, that another proven leader, he's not flash anymore. He's not going to average 30 points a game anymore. We all know that. But there is no way that you can look at the Cavs roster on Tuesday and the Cavs roster on Wednesday and say they didn't get a lot better overnight. The regular season to these guys, it's not going to mean much. We saw that last year with the Cavs. We're going to see it again this year. I don't even think they'll be the 1 seed in the East. But they're going to be the heavy favorite to get out. And this whole season, like the last 3, will be built around getting to June and winning that championship. And there's really no one better than Dwayne Wade and LeBron James at that time. They showed that in those 4 years. They went through. They had tough times in those finals.
Yep.
TJ, you were there. You know, they know how to respond. I think that's what will make the Warriors uneasy come June.
All right, that'll be fascinating if we do indeed see another trip for both these teams to the finals. Now, Tim, you had a special phone call yesterday from Dwayne Wade himself, even though you're all the way down there in Miami, during his first day at the Q in his locker room. You spoke to him and you got some juicy information about him and his long-term goals and his plans. Tell us a bit what you got out of Dwayne yesterday.
Yeah, we talked for a long time about the decision to go to Cleveland and a lot of other things, and then we started talking about Miami, and he made it very, very clear. He's coming back. He's coming back to Miami at some point, and whether that's going to be the one-day deal like Paul Pierce got to retire as a Celtic, and that's not what he wants. He wants to play here again. I believe it's going to happen. I'm almost certain it's going to happen because I think the Heat also want the same thing. And Dwayne took a long look at Miami right now. It wasn't the right fit for him because they have a bunch of shooting guards on this team. But something he said to me that I thought was real interesting. He said that those guys going 30-11 with Spo the second half of last season and bringing basically that whole team back, they've earned the right to figure out who they are. And he knows that Dwayne going to Miami, I think, makes them better. But it also would complicate things from a chemistry standpoint.
Right.
Not in a way that would automatically always be bad, but let's face it, it wouldn't be the same team as last year, obviously. So a little bit of this was out of respect to the Heat, that Dwayne wants them to see who they are and what magic they found the second half of last season.
Right.
There were a lot. Why the timing doesn't work right now. The Heat would agree with that, but still home. His family is still here. His children are back here largely for educational reasons. He's not selling his house. He will be in a Miami Heat uniform, whether it's for one more day or one more season. It's going to happen again.
That's awesome. That, I'm sure, is going to put a smile on a lot of Heat fans to eventually see Dwayne retire as a Miami Heat player. Now, let's talk a bit about the Heat. They're in training camp the last couple of days. You did mention the whole gang is back. They did add some interesting names, Kelly Olynyk, Bam Adebayo as well. What have you seen so far from Coach Spo in camp, and how eager are they to ride on the momentum from that big second half last year when they went 30-11?
Well, the best part for Spo right now is that this isn't really a camp. I mean, this isn't really camp. They're in practice mode already because
okay.
they had the team back this whole time.
Wow.
So the first day of camp, he was able to start installing things that ordinarily he wouldn't have done until like the second week last year. So Spo feels very lucky. Spo feels very fortunate that they brought this whole team back. And the guys who weren't there last year, like you said, the Bam Adebayos, the Kelly Olynyks, the D-League guys who know that they're going to Sioux Falls and are just here for camp, fill out the camp space. Those returning players are the ones telling them, hey, this is how we do things. We run this here, we do this here, we do this here. The players are taking the leadership, and that's freeing up Spo to do more coaching, which is what Spo prefers, obviously. So it's a great spot for Spo right now.
That's awesome. Now tell us a bit about our guy, Spo, who was in the running for Coach of the Year last year, and he did win that other Coach of the Year award, not the official NBA award. But tell us how you've seen him mature as well from adjusting to losing LeBron after the 4 trips to the finals, the 2 titles. He's married now, and also I guess things are a little bit different as well with Spo. So what's he like now? What's the demeanor of Spo like now? Where is his goal right now for this team this year?
Well, I mean, his goal is what it is every year. He wants to win it all. That's always going to be the goal with Spo. I think he's as confident as he's ever been. And listen, he'll never get the respect he deserves because those 4 years when they went to the finals, all 4 years when they won it twice, he won it with great players. And coaches never get that respect when that's the case.
Right.
I really think that, as Spo has, with every year, I mean, he's the second longest tenured coach in the league behind Pop. He's he's gotten more and more confident, but also this has become more and more his organization. I mean, it's still Pat running it, but Spo's clearly the voice in that room. He's clearly the one now that the players go to. Spo really, I think, with every year has proven that he belongs. I voted for him for Coach of the Year last year because teams that start 11-30, they fold. They go into the tank, particularly with guys who have all those contract years like they had last year. I thought last season was Spo's best coaching job. He thinks they could be very good. I've got no reason to doubt him because usually what he thinks is going to be the case usually turns out to be that way.
Well, it should be a lot of fun, and who knows, they might see each other in the playoffs at number 2 and number 7. Depends how high up the Heat get up there in the playoffs.
Get around, maybe.
That should be fun. Hey, Tim, great chatting with you. Thanks for giving us your time, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care, TJ. Thank you.
Hi guys, keep watching The Score for the latest sports updates, and don't forget to subscribe to the ABS-CBN Sports in Action YouTube channel.